Hey there, I'm Erin and I run Rose Quartz Mediumship, and I wanted to do a quick piece about Ivan McBeth and my relationship with him and the fundraiser that we are doing right now. I met Ivan in spirit form only in this life, so I'm going to tell you the story of meeting him and getting to start a relationship of working with him as a spirit mentor. I was actually, the first time that I met him, I was actually at a workshop with Sally Crow, and he was a spirit who was there teaching. And I met him very briefly, was introduced to him, got the opportunity to visually see him and engage with him, but really had not a lot of contact. I met him, I knew his name, I knew who he was, but truly didn't have any sort of relationship at that point in time with him. At that workshop, I made the decision that I was going to seek Druidry, which is something that had kind of been in my reality, been present, and I just hadn't moved forward with it. And it was at that workshop that I decided that I was going to move forward with seeking Druidry. I signed up for the Bardic year through Green Mountain Druids order, the Green Mountain Druids school with Fern. And I was about 3 weeks late, and she allowed me to come in to the group anyways and start my Bardic year. So one of the journeys that you take in the beginning of your Bardic year, which is the first grade, is to meet your Druid mentor. So a guide who's going to support you from the other side of the veil. And so we went on this journey, and it's this beautiful process. If you've not journeyed before, it is essentially you get into a meditative state and you go on a trip, for lack of a better explanation. And my journey took me up a mountain and to this lake. And at the lake, Ivan was there. And I knew him. I'd met him before, like I said, at Sally Crow's workshop. And we spoke. I handed him a stone as a sign of gratitude. At the time, I didn't understand his relationships with stone. And so it's kind of funny now to look back on that was the gift that I gave him as a sign of gratitude. We engaged very minimally. I was asked to ask him his name. And so I asked what his name was, and he said, Ian. And at the time, I was really struggling with mediumship stuff. Not that I was struggling with the capability of mediumship, I was struggling with self-confidence around mediumship. I have been a medium since I can remember. My first very vivid memories, I was about 4 or 5. But I'd been in a situation where I was in a relationship with a partner who really struggled with the concept of mediumship, and as a result, I was struggling. And finding myself and finding my footing with mediumship again was something that was a work in progress at that point in time. And so it was really hard for me to have this man, this spirit, who I knew was named Ivan, tell me clear as day that his name was Ian. And I asked him again, what was your name? And he said, Ian. And I remember just feeling very lost in that moment and feeling kind of deflated because I knew his name wasn't Ian. I knew his name was Ivan. And so I asked a third time, and he said, you heard me just fine. My name is Ian. And then he went on to talk to me about the fact that I was flailing. And I remember feeling confused about that as well. And I was like, I'm not even in the water, right? My feet are still on the ground. What do you mean I'm flailing? And then I realized that he was talking about spirituality. He wasn't talking about the water, right? He was saying, you're flailing. You're flailing. Stop thrashing at spirituality and find a sense of flow. Lay back, know that the universe has you, and get into a state of flow. And then he dove off and he was gone into the water. And that was my first experience of meeting Ivan. And it took me about a month to write up the journey. Fern had asked us if we would write it up as part of our experience and share it with our grade if we were comfortable. And the long and short was that I was really comfortable with my experience, but it felt really awkward to write up my experience, describe this man who was Ivan. He was this enormous man, and when I went to put the stone into his hand, I realized how small my hand was compared to his hand, and how much I looked up at him, you know, how far I had to look up in order to see him. I'm short, and he's not. And so I described it. I described the whole experience. It took me about a month to write it up and post it into the group. And Fern wrote back very shortly and said, "Oh, that sounds like Ivan, and his birth name is Ian." And it was such a beautiful experience for me. It was such a great learning experience. He showed up almost immediately and asked me if I knew why he'd done that. And of course I knew. You know, he was trying to help me understand that I could hear spirit very clearly, and that my self-confidence issues were things that I needed to really do some shadow work on. So that was the beginning of my relationship with Ivan, and I have continued a very close working relationship with him. I've gone on to look at past lives, one of which he was my father. And so I have worked with Ivan over lifetimes, and really adore being able to engage with him energetically. While I never met him in human form in this life, I certainly have gotten to experience him and all of his magic and his depth and his teachings, and worked very closely with him. He's taken me on many journeys and done beautiful work. It's neat for me personally to be able to work with him the way that many of you got to work with him live, right? When he was in human form, he took you guys on journeys, and he took you guys places to learn and to grow. And I feel very blessed that I'm able to get to work with him on the other side of the veil. He has been a phenomenal, phenomenal support for me in my Druid training. He has continued to work with me very closely as I have gone through the Druid school. And I feel really lucky to get to be able to do this fundraiser with Ivan and Fern to support the Green Mountain Druid Order. Essentially, there will be a collective message for anybody who donates. We will send out a collective message that Ivan has been working on. And then you will also, there will be one person who gets picked out of everybody who donates $10 or more. And that individual who is picked is going to get a reading with Ivan through me. And I feel really grateful and blessed to be able to be involved with that process. I'm sure that most of you know that Ivan transitioned in the fall equinox, and so this is his 5-year anniversary, and it is a really beautiful opportunity to get to engage with him and to support the Green Mountain Druid Order that he loved so dearly and was so passionate about. So that is my story about Ivan McBeth and how I started working with him, and why it is that I am doing the fundraiser with Fern and with Ivan to support the Green Mountain Druid Order. I thank you for any donations that you want to send to the Green Mountain Druid Order, and appreciate you taking the time to watch this video.